The following audio may contain the personal testimonials of some independent Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to healthy living and weight loss will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. In addition, this audio may contain income or earnings representations of some independent Optavia coaches. Optavia makes no guarantee of financial success. Success with Optavia results from successful sales efforts, which requires hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Please see the Optavia income disclosure statement for statistics on actual earnings of coaches under the U.S. compensation plan, which differs from the international compensation plan. Yours in health, the Optavia team.
Well, hey guys, I want to say welcome to your Habits of Health webinar. I want to introduce myself. My name is Susan Labelle, and I am your host this evening. And we are on to element 13. How exciting is that? So as people are popping in, go ahead and share in the chat. How many live Habits of Health webinars have you been on? If you've been on 13, go ahead and drop me a 13. That's not 13, that was 6. So 13 in the chat. If you've been on 10, 8, let's hear it. I know people are joining. Oh, look at all of you guys. You guys get like the gold star. How about any first timers? I see some first timers dropping a 1 in the chat, which is super exciting. So this call is for all of you, and this is a great week to be your first time. The topic we're covering tonight is element 13, tracking your journey to a healthy weight and beyond. I'm super excited about this because this has been so pivotal in my own personal journey. Just exploring the tools to just access you guys so that you can have progress on your journey to optimal health. So I want to share a little story as I was prepping for today. I have 2 children and they both cannot be more different in this area. When we start talking about tracking and assessments and test taking, they go to a school where they do, before every lesson, they do a pre-test and they do a post-test. So I have a daughter who loves her tests. Like, she loves a pre-test because she gets to see, hey, what do I know? What am I gonna learn? She's super excited to see what she doesn't know yet. And then she loves the post-test to see how far she's grown, and she loves to just check those boxes. And so I know there's some of you out there that are like, yes, we're talking tracking, we're talking assessments, and that's me. I love to check all the boxes. I love to track daily. I love to track weekly and monthly. This is my jam. Like, you're like my daughter. And then I have this son over here who is kind of like, when they do the pre-test, he's always like, I don't get why they do a pre-test. Like, they haven't taught me the info. Why did they expect me to know that? And then the post-test, he's like, that doesn't really reflect what I actually know. Like, and he just doesn't love the whole test taking process. He doesn't fully understand how it adds value to his educational journey. So I'm fully aware we've probably got the whole spectrum here of what you want to experience today. People that are super excited about this, and others that are going, how is this really going to help me create optimal health in my life? And we welcome you all. And I hope today to just help you stay open and curious and grow in this area, as this is such a foundational habit and skill to help you move forward. Let me get my PowerPoint up and rocking here. So here we go. Element 13, tracking our journey. So my desire is to provide you with the tools to access how you are doing on a daily, a weekly, and a monthly basis, and to help you and assist you to measure your progress as you advance on your path to optimal health and well-being. And what I love is element 13 focuses on how we can do that, how we can track day to day, how you can plan your day, you can track today and plan tomorrow, and how you can use the daily logs and checklists to evaluate your progress. So up until this point, like the last 6 through 12, we've really been focusing on that installation of that first macro habit of health, of our healthy weight management. And this is kind of that pause week to go, hey, how are we doing? What are we celebrating? What's going really well? And then, stay curious to be like, what else, where else do I want to focus? And as we're entering into a holiday season, this is the perfect time to really be addressing this habit, right? You know, before I kind of get into the what's and the whys and the hows about how we track, I just, you know, I was a dental hygienist, and here I am with my posture not being perfect. But let me share with you a little story. When I was in dental hygiene school, I thought I was just going to get some instruments and start working in people's mouths. And they spent the first few weeks talking about posture, talking about how we need to hold our body. And there was so much to it. They'd come around, and here I'm trying to remember where to put my instruments, but they were like, your elbows in and your wrist neutral and your feet down, and keep your neck a certain way and your shoulders back. And they were really, and I felt like it was so much to think about. They had a little way they'd come around and they'd tap on your shoulder twice, and that meant get your ergonomics together, right? Because they wanted me to be able to have longevity in that profession if I so chose. And a new part of that was learning the posture to hold. And here is really what tracking is very much like that, because creating the habits of health, we want them to become so automatic, like so automatic that initially it feels like, I've got to remember to do this, I've got to remember to do this, I've got to remember to do this. And maybe you're still in that, but over time, if we're tracking it daily, and you come around, you can just kind of feel this little like double tap on your shoulder, and you're like, wait, I got this. Because these habits of health are going to become so automatic. I have been coaching for 9.5 years. I lost my weight, and they become so automatic that no matter what the stress of life is, right? I'm traveling right now. Doesn't matter what's happening in my life. You can make the choices that will support, you know, well-being, and there's no need for willpower anymore because they've become so automatic. And so daily tracking has been a huge part in supporting that longevity and that lifelong goal, guys. So pretty exciting stuff, right? So let's talk about what do we track, okay? We can track things such as our food intake. Drop in the chat if you guys have downloaded the app. You guys all downloaded your Habits of Health app. How awesome is that, that is a habit installer? Where you can download it is on Google Play or iTunes. And it's a great way to like go in daily, right? And kind of check, how am I doing in all the macro habits and the micro habits that support your goals. So we can track our food intake. That's one thing we can track. We can track our goal weight. Now, I'm not super into just scales, okay? But it is one way to check our progress. I also love measurements when people start doing measurements, like to check inches, even just a really great selfie, right? Of you in the mirror. What a great way to track progress, to see like, how am I doing and seeing those things change? How many of you have done that? And that has been just really great feedback that sometimes we can get like, am I making progress? But then we have those positive feedback to show us that we are making progress. We can celebrate what we're doing well, and that's what builds our faith, our trust to keep moving forward. So then we also have our activity levels. So that's something we can track too, is you're adding exercise into your program. And then with activity is, how am I feeling during my activity? How is my energy levels? What kind of activity am I doing? What times of day am I doing it? Starting to become more reflective and learning more about ourselves and how we best can like really show up, right? So hours of sleep, which is a big one. Now I wear a Fitbit, and I don't have it on right now, but it tracks my sleep, and I love that. But getting into the habit of tracking like how we are doing with our sleep, and then with everything else that you're tracking, seeing how that's affecting your day-to-day. Does it affect the food choices that you make? Does it affect your energy levels and your productivity and your mood and everything else as well? So again, becoming more aware and more conscious so that we can make some course corrections earlier and sooner. You know, I was sitting, cute little story, I was on an airplane this morning, and I was with this mom who had her baby with her, and she said, you know, he's just not feeding himself. He's gotten into this habit or a behavior of me wanting to feed him. So she's like, you know, I think we're going to start working with an occupational therapist because I want him to like be more motivated, you know, to like learn to feed himself. And I just don't know how to do it. I'm reaching out for help on that. And I kind of giggled because I knew what we were going to all be talking about tonight. And that's kind of what this is all about, right? Because I was learning to course correct earlier, right? Learning to, Oh, learning to course correct sooner. So learning to like make that like that. Hey, as a mom, right, we see it in our kids, like, oh, there's a behavior that's starting to develop, right, or a pattern, and I want to nip it, right? How many of you have a story like that? You can see it. Sometimes we see it better in others than we see it in ourselves. So after been coaching for a long time here, by tracking your consistency and your results, you can make those course corrections and adjustments early rather than allowing them to create a behavior or an ingrained behavior or a choice that's not going to give you the results that you want, right? She knows she doesn't want she wants her baby to learn to feed themselves. So she's like, rather than becoming like, where I'm just going to do it anyway, I'm like, I'm going to reach out for help and learn to shift that behavior, right? So sometimes, like I said, easier to see it in other people or in other situations, but when we start to really do that assessment of ourselves and take that personal responsibility, we can make those course corrections earlier. You can work with your coach to make them earlier so that we don't create behaviors that don't give you the results that you want. I actually see my friend on here. His name is Casey Mitchell. And this would be, I'd love to bring you on just to, you have had years of experience of working with people in the nutritional as an Optavia health coach, but also in the fitness. And I know tracking has been a huge part of your clients' overall success. So would you mind coming on, popping off, and just sharing a little bit your background, but also like, what do you have your clients track?
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Hey, bud.
Okay. Hey, good to see you. Yeah, you know what? Tracking is such an important part of it. And like this is going to be on my tombstone. I know it is, but it's like what I always explain is the studies that show that people will they'll underestimate their calorie reporting by about 40%. And it's like, it's a big issue, whether it's purposefully doing that or completely accidental, but it happens. And 40% is enough to really take somebody out of a calorie deficit that's going to allow them to see the changes that they want to see in their bodies. So that's a big thing. And the other thing on the other side of the spectrum is people will overestimate how hard they're exercising. So Dr. Anderson talks about it in the New Habits of Health, but he talks about like we think that we're eating much less than we really are, and we think that we're working out much harder than we really are, and we're not. And that turnaround is such a inroad into your ability to see progress. So what I like to track is I love to track, I think the food reporting is critical, because until you really see visually what it is you're putting on your plate and what you're eating, you really don't have an idea. Like if we take a look at ketchup, for example, like 3 tablespoons of ketchup has the same amount of sugar as a donut. But we would never sit down and just say, I'm going to have a donut, but we would say, oh yeah, I'm going to have a few, little bit of ketchup on my sweet potato fries or whatever, and not even think about it. And then the exercise thing, it's like, so many of the fitness taking that to heart, but having the heart rate monitors to really give you that idea of what that effort looks like, right? Like I feel like, because we'll use the perceived rate of exertion, which is what we use in Habits of Health, which is giving you an idea of like, how hard does this feel for you? But when it feels pretty hard and you can also see your heart rate, then when you go into monitoring, like what Susan was talking about earlier, you can start making adjustments that are going to increase your progression. So if you know that you're at 70% heart rate on average, and and you need to break through a plateau, you might be able to make a recommendation of going up to 74% for that average for the next week. So knowing those numbers, and I always say like the level of detail and understanding your numbers is really dictated by how much progress you really want to see, or your level of frustration because the details are dialed in as perfectly as they could be. And not to get overly analysis with it, but it's just really like something that if you have a frustration, it's like really get down to the brass tacks and figure out what's going on so that you can make a simple adjustment. And that's really all it is.
Yeah, no, I love that. And what's so fascinating is what made me just be like, Optavia is the truth, the way, the light for me was because it was the easy button and they didn't require all this, and there's probably people, this is their first week, like just getting started on a program. With this is week 13 though, for some people, it's like, hey, let's monitor, see how are we doing? And like you said, we can make those course corrections. So
well, and if you haven't covered it already, I mean, the Habits of Health app which basically just going through and placing your fuelings in there. I mean, 84% of your total calories are covered through your fuelings. So like 5 out of your 6 meals, you don't really have to track, other than you just have to check off the ticker that you had it. And that's what's so simple about it. So it's so easy that, like, let's eliminate the whole guesswork or the whole having to weigh, measure, and all that other stuff, and just know that you're getting, the 11 grams of protein and 14 grams of carbs and a little bit of healthy fats and your probiotics and vitamins. It's just amazing.
Yeah, awesome. And, just because you popped in, can you give a little bit of your background, just in like a 1 or 2 minute synopsis? Because probably people are like, mind blowing. This guy's like, as a statistician, if that's the right word, all your stats, but you have a long history in the fitness world, and have helped people on like both ends of that. So you've known tracking to be like such a key like foundation for people to really set goals and make progress.
Yeah, so my background is so clinical nutrition and dietetics is what my degree is in, and that was coupled with a secondary major of health education. So I've really been diving into these type of materials for so long, and what Dr. Anderson has put together is world class and absolutely amazing, and put together in a format that just completely blows my mind because it's so simple to read and so simple for people to understand. I just absolutely love that. But for years, 25 years in the fitness industry and training trainers on how to train people on how to really put together programs that allows for progression. And if you're not tracking the things, like if somebody comes in and they have a goal to reduce body fat, like it has to be a measurable plan that you can adjust and see if something's not working, that you make that. And if you look at the Be Slim lifestyle, monitoring is the M in Be Slim, which is checking your statistics, check whether it's a scale every couple of weeks or whatever, and just seeing is what I'm doing working for what I want to accomplish. So monitoring and having that information is such a critical role in being able to make those adjustments. But we've done that in the fitness industry for a long time. So the 1 through 10 tracking, or the 1 through 20 tracking of how well you're doing on everything, we would do that with our personal training clients. Like on a scale of 1 through 10, how would you rate your success of your exercise program as it was prescribed to you for the last week? And then if progress hasn't happened, then we can pretty much say, well, we can't make another step until we perfect what's currently going on. And then we'll be able to make that adjustment, whether it's a heart rate increase or whether it's a time increase or a type of exercise increase or nutritional adjustment. Yeah. So
I'm going to flash on the screen real quick, kind of what Casey is referring to. Right in your LifeBook on pages 254 to 263, Dr. A has laid out a Habits of Health, like daily and weekly tracker. So there is a little, you can print copies of these, you guys, and just get in the habit of tracking daily your weight management, healthy eating, how are you doing with hydration and motion and sleep and mind and surroundings. It's just the easy button for all of us, and we have all the resources and tools for people.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, taking that material and being able to just print it out, because it doesn't take a whole lot of information that you're tracking, but you do want to keep track of it someplace where you can go back and review it. And you can go to habitsofhealth.com. You can print off those things. You can print off, if you needed to, carbon copy what's on that page right there, and just really go through it on a regular basis. In fact, I think we'll talk about when you should do that and how you can kind of assess your progress so that you can go back in and make those adjustments and kind of give yourself like, how did I do today on a scale of 1 through 10 based on what my goals are? And it's kind of like the stop, challenge, and choose. Like, did what I choose to do today allow me to get closer to my goal or further away? And what were those adjustments that I'm going to make tomorrow to get me right on track to where I want to go?
Awesome. So like Casey had mentioned, you've got your app, you've got in your LifeBook, your Habits of Health, your weekly tracker, and then also your Macro Habits of Health daily log and checklist, just to get in the habit. And this is something I encourage you to do it ourselves and then to share it with your coach, right? To have that kind of increased accountability, and they can help you maybe see the things you don't see to make those course corrections. And then the habitsofhealth.com is a very underused resource that is free resources for all of us to be able to utilize. If you go to system resources, you go to that website, habitsofhealth.com, click on system resources. There are printables of weekly trackers and monthly trackers. And you can go there tonight, and access those to get started on this process, seeing where am I at, and then setting the tone for the season ahead. So,
Totally. And I think what's so critical about that too is just take a look at like your habits for the day and how you put together your fuelings. And let's say that over time, if you're journaling and you're like, today I had an amazing day, and you look back at, it's confirmation of cause and effect. So you had a perfect habits of health day and you felt amazing. The next day rolls around and you take a look at your journal and you're like, I missed this, or I missed the timing on this, or I missed my water intake by X number of ounces, and I didn't feel very good. Like, what it's doing is it's confirming that you're going to have more great days by following the system and the structure and really getting into habit with all of that. And on the days where you're feeling less awesome, you realize that you've kind of strayed away from some of those habits that really allow us to feel our best.
Yeah, I love that. And so let's talk about, when do I track? And it seems like but some people feel like I just don't have time. And I'm going to use another dental analogy, but how many of you made time to brush your teeth this morning? And I jokingly say to my kids, and they're like, I don't want to brush my teeth. I'm like, you only have to brush the ones you want to keep. Like, that's all, like just brush the ones you want to keep. And they roll their eyes now at me like, haha, I've heard that joke 1,000 times. But it is like, hey, you know what? Maybe, like I said, there's the half of you that's like, oh, I love tracking. Yes, trackers. I didn't even know I had that resource. I'm going to go print them off and make myself like a loose leaf binder and and do this daily. This is my jam. And then there's maybe the other half of you that's like, wait a minute, how is this going to support my journey? We'll talk a little bit to the why, but Casey, you want to just speak to like what to do kind of in the morning and at nighttime, like how that could serve, and then really less than 5 minutes a day that it truly takes.
Yeah, I mean, so we take a look at the evening hours when you can kind of go back and you can kind of dissect your day and say, like, what did I do well? Where do I want to improve? And you would probably do this with so many different things in your life anyway. But like, as you rest your head down on your pillow, you're like, was today the most amazing day that I could make it? And if not, what can I do tomorrow to improve that? And that's step number one. But you might wake up the next morning and you might say, okay, based on what I know about what happened yesterday, here's my plan of action for today. And if it's like, where am I going to be when lunch rolls around, or we have an event and I'm going to be gone that evening, like, how am I going to plan my day? How am I going to structure my day so that I can stay in control of the things I want to stay in control of? And that might be like just a little bit of foresight in, how do I prepare my lean and green tonight when we're going to have company over and all this? But having a little bit of cognitive thought behind that, so that when it happens, you've kind of already thought about that process. You're not just winging it, because winging it will create all kinds of potential chaos.
Yeah. The wing it plan is not like the most successful. I love it.
And then we make those emotional decisions. We make those decisions based on blood sugars and that kind of thing. And this is where stop, challenge, and choose really comes in handy too, where you can just cognitively think about, like, why am I feeling this way? What do I want to accomplish? What's my outcome? And then making that choice, because it's always a choice, but then making that smart choice for what's going to move you forward.
Absolutely. And tracking is a choice. We're just saying this is but we're going to talk on the why, because sometimes until we know why it would serve us and how it would really assist us to reach our goals, that's how we can maybe be open to like shifting, right? I read something right out of your LifeBook on page 252, and I love this because this is the why behind your whole health. I'm just going to read right out of it, guys. The strategic plan of the Habits of Health transformation system is to make it easier to learn and install an effective set of habits that do not depend on willpower. Amen, right? But instead, automated behaviors that support optimal health and well-being. The way we establish, monitor, and fortify this new lifestyle is by using Dr. A's Habits of Health book, your LifeBook app, and this daily, weekly, monthly log. So he's putting the logs right up there with the transformational systems, the app, like using all the resources. That's how we instill new habits and behaviors. And we know by the installation of these new habits and behaviors, we can create new outcomes for optimal health and well-being. So there's such a coincide and sync. Based off just your years of experience, what have you seen has been like why this has been so important for your clients to like track?
Well, I mean, I don't think anybody wants to waste their time, and wasting time in a lot of is wasting money, and it's frustrating, and it's just, there's so many things that you can do to make sure that that never really happens, and having that information dialed in so that you can make a smart, intelligent decision. What generally happens for most people is they don't know what they're doing. So when you say, well, what am I going to change? It's like the number one thing that you could do is just have a consistent plan so you know where to make adjustments from that. And what we have in place is a structure and a simple plan that now everything is kind of dialed in as baseline. And then now you make those adjustments, but kind of outdated because we have such great GPS systems and everything now. But if you were late for an appointment downtown, in your city or wherever you live, and you didn't know how to get there, like if you got lost and it was important enough to you, like the next time you had to go down there to that place, you would map it out. You would set a path that you knew that you could get there. Actually, our 16-year-old son does this. He actually studies the map. He has a fear of getting lost, and he actually studies the GPS map, and he's got his map figured out before he travels anywhere. He just has to do that. That's his thing. But if you get burned a couple of times, you realize how frustrating it is to be late for an appointment and be like, I don't even know where I'm at. Like I have no way of getting out of this this rat trap right now. And that's really what it is. If you have no way of knowing that what you're doing is either moving you closer to your goal, like you have some success, but you're not sure what's giving you the success, it's freeing. It's emotionally freeing. And that's one of the things that we want to do is make this so simple and so emotionally calming that you're always in control of your scenario.
I love that. So you can be more efficient on your time. You have higher accountability and responsibility. That's the win.
Yes.
Easier to make modifications and tweak, guys, as you go. It helps drive your focus, your attention, towards what you really want. And I think it helps people be committed when they're tracking. It's what's on the forefront of your brain on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And so what you focus on grows. And so, and I love this quote. This is right out of your LifeBook. But taking full responsibility for yourself is the one thing you must do that no one else can do for you. Kind of a gut check, right? You must own what you eat, how you move, how you sleep, and how you handle stress by integrating your mind. These are not things you can delegate to other people, guys. And so really, once you just claim that personal responsibility, you will soar. And that's super, super exciting. So as we kind of wrap up tonight, it's your turn to open up your LifeBook. We have a few minutes just to reflect here about what does this element really mean for you, and I hope you share with your coach these reflections as well. Are you excited? Is this something that's new to you? Does your future self see, as someone that is going to be tracking, right? Tracking their day to day. What does this element give you the opportunity to reflect on? Do you feel that these tracking tools can help you create a different outcome in your health and life? Do you see that? Maybe this would have behaviors and are kind of tripping you up, little speed bumps that you're having. Could they stay open the thing that's tripping you up, just to help you identify how those obstacles you feel you do have. And then what actions are you going to take as a result of this element? It's important that we get into action after we have new knowledge and we're learning. What will you do today to make tomorrow more optimal? What will you do today to make tomorrow more optimal? Will you go to thehabitsofhealth.com and download your trackers tonight, your monthly and weekly trackers? Are you going to reach out to your coach this week and set a plan? Or download the app, or if you have the app, download it, start using the app, to track your, your micro habits of health? Are you going to start utilizing your LifeBook and write these answers in your LifeBook? So that's what we have for you guys tonight. Let me, my PowerPoint did just crash off for some reason, but do want to remind you guys that if you go to Optavia, go to YouTube and you search Optavia, there are some short 2 to 3 minute intro videos that Dr. Anderson did for each element. So I encourage you guys to check that out. And then all of our elements up till now, our Habits of Health webinars are also housed there. So for all of you newcomers, as you're coming on board and getting started into your LifeBook, we have all of those resources available for you as well. And then next week, we are moving on to phase 2. So from up till now, we have been talking about phase 1, you know, about healthy weight management. And next week, we enter phase 2, which focuses on learning how to eat healthy for life. And isn't that why you guys said yes to this all in the first place?
I love transition. Transition is my favorite. This is seriously, transitioning is awesome. This is exciting. I want to talk next week too.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the win. So stay tuned. Join us next week. If you want to hang out for the trilogy call, we'll get started with that just in a few minutes. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, and have a great evening.
This audio may have contained the personal testimonials of some independent Optavia coaches or clients of Optavia. The results relayed in these messages are based on the unique experiences of the participants, and we cannot guarantee like or similar outcomes. While you may be inspired by these accounts, please note that any stories of success have not been verified, and your individual path to optimal health will vary. As always, it is our recommendation that you consult with a healthcare provider before starting a weight loss program. In addition, this audio may have contained income or earnings representations of some independent Optavia coaches. Optavia makes no guarantee of financial success. Success with Optavia results from successful sales efforts, which requires hard work, diligence, skill, persistence, competence, and leadership. Please see the Optavia income disclosure statement for statistics on actual earnings of coaches under the U.S. compensation plan, which differs from the international compensation plan. Yours in health, the Optavia team.